This place should not exist, not because it is old, but because of when it was built, long before pyramids, before kings, before writing, before history even knew how to remember itself. And yet, here it is, hidden beneath sand, time, and silence. What you are about to see was built when humans were supposed to be primitive, when survival, not architecture, was meant to be our only concern. But history got something wrong. Soft atmospheric pause. Thousands of years ago, on a dry coastline of ancient Peru, a civilization rose that had no metal tools, no pottery, no written language, and yet somehow they built one of the oldest cities on Earth. This was Caral. Most people have never heard of it, and that is not an accident, because Caral does not fit the story we were told about how civilization began. We are taught that civilization started like this. First, people learned to farm. Then they settled down. Then villages appeared. Then cities. Then monuments. Caral breaks every single step, because Caral was already a planned city, before agriculture was fully developed. No kings, no armies, no walls, no weapons. Yet massive pyramids rose from the desert floor. Slow pause. So the question is not, how did they build this? The real question is, why were they allowed to be forgotten? A city older than Egypt, Caral is over 5,000 years old. That means older than the Great Pyramid, older than Stonehenge, older than Mesopotamia. While Egypt was still learning how to stack stone, Caral had already mastered urban design. And not randomly, every structure in Caral is aligned, not for beauty, not for defense, but for something else, alignment with the sky. Caral's pyramids are positioned to track the sun, the solstices, seasonal changes. This was not religion. This was knowledge. Knowledge that allowed them to survive in one of the harshest environments on Earth, a place where rain almost never falls. So how did they survive? Water without rivers. Caral had no large river nearby, no lakes, no obvious water source. Yet thousands of people lived here for centuries. The answer lies underground. They engineered subterranean airflow systems that controlled temperature. They redirected seasonal water through carefully shaped channels, not brute force. Precision. This was not trial and error. This was intentional design. A civilization without war. Here is the part history avoids. Archaeologists found no weapons, no mass graves, no fortifications. Caral was not built for conquest. It was built for coordination. Music instruments were found, flutes made from pelican bones. This was a society that communicated through sound, through rhythm, through cooperation. Soft pause. Think about that. A civilization that reached monumental scale, without violence. Why this is dangerous knowledge. If Caral is real, then the idea that war created civilization falls apart. If Caral is real, then hierarchy was not required. If Caral is real, then humans were capable of advanced planning, far earlier than we were told. And that changes everything. The silence around Caral. Caral was discovered in the 1990s, not centuries ago, not even decades ago. It was ignored, dismissed, because it did not fit. Major textbooks still barely mention it. Museums rarely display it. Why? Because Caral suggests that civilization may have started not with power, but with knowledge sharing, not with kings, but with systems. And this is only the beginning, because what Caral built did not disappear. It spread. In the next part, we uncover how Caral influenced later civilizations, why similar city designs appear worldwide, and how this knowledge may have been intentionally erased, because Caral was not alone. It was the first node in something much larger. Quiet, serious tone. History didn't forget Caral. History skipped it. What Caral knew was not supposed to be possible. Not at that time. Not without metal. Not without writing. Not without kings or armies. And yet, the evidence is still there. Buried in stone, hidden in alignment, encoded in design. Knowledge without books. Caral had no written language, no inscriptions, no tablets, no symbols carved to record instructions, and yet they built structures that required long-term planning, precise measurements, shared understanding across generations. This kind of knowledge normally requires writing, but Caral used something else. Sound as memory. Archaeologists discovered something strange. Dozens of musical instruments, embedded inside ceremonial structures. Flutes, whistles, resonant chambers. These were not for entertainment. They were tools. Sound travels, sound repeats, sound teaches. Caral may have used rhythm and sound to preserve instructions. Knowledge passed, not through books, but through ceremony. Think about that. A civilization that stored information in sound patterns. Engineering that should not exist. Look closely at Caral's pyramids. They are not solid stone blocks, like Egypt. They are layered systems. Inside the pyramids are woven bags filled with stones. This is called Shikra technology. Why does that matter? Because it absorbs earthquakes. Caral sits in a seismic zone. These structures are earthquake-resistant by design. This is not primitive engineering. This is advanced seismic knowledge, the desert problem. Caral was built in one of the driest regions on Earth. No forests, no abundant food, no easy water. A civilization should not thrive here unless they understood environmental systems better than we assume. They positioned the city to capture coastal winds. They regulated airflow through open plazas. They controlled temperature without walls or roofs. This is climate engineering. 5,000 years ago, time is a tool. Caral was not rushed. Every phase of construction was planned decades ahead. Buildings were expanded, not replaced, meaning they were thinking in centuries. That requires social stability, shared purpose, deep trust. Civilizations driven by power collapse quickly. Caral lasted for over 1,000 years. Where did this knowledge come from? Here's the question historians avoid. Knowledge does not appear out of nothing. Someone taught them, or they inherited something older. Because Caral did not invent everything, they refined it. The uncomfortable connections. Similar features appear in ancient coastal Asia, early river cities, later American civilizations, shared traits, pyramid-like platforms, sun alignment, non-militarized layouts, ceremonial centers. This suggests knowledge transfer, but not through conquest, through something else, through migration, a coastal civilization. Caral depended heavily on fishing. Marine protein fed the city. Trade networks moved inland. This was not an isolated culture. This was a hub. Caral connected coast and interior, and knowledge moved with it. Why this breaks history? Because if Caral is acknowledged fully, then civilization did not start in one place. It emerged multiple times independently, and sometimes without violence. That challenges the foundation of how history is taught. What was lost? Caral eventually declined, not from war, not from invasion. Climate shifts, environmental change, and when it disappeared, its knowledge went silent. No texts survived. No kings were remembered. Only stone. But silence does not mean absence. What comes next? In the next part, we will uncover something disturbing, because Caral was not unique. Cities like this appear all over the world, separated by oceans, separated by time, yet connected by design. And that leads to a terrifying possibility that early humans shared a global knowledge network long before history admits. What if Caral was not alone? What if it was not an exception, but part of a much larger pattern? A pattern that stretches across oceans, across continents, and across time. Because once you stop looking at Caral as a single city and start looking at it as a design, something unsettling begins to appear. The same shape, different places. Caral was built with large ceremonial platforms, sun-aligned structures, open communal plazas, no defensive walls, no monuments to kings. Now look elsewhere. In ancient Peru, in Central America, in parts of Asia, even in early coastal settlements thousands of kilometers apart, the same principles appear, not copied stone for stone, but copied in concept. Cities focused on gathering, ceremony, environmental balance, long-term survival, not conquest, not domination. This is where history becomes uncomfortable, because these similarities appear without evidence of direct contact. No ships recorded, no maps preserved, no text describing exchange, and yet the ideas repeat. Design over style. The buildings don't look the same. The cultures don't speak the same language. The art is different, but the thinking is the same. Think of it like this. Two engineers on opposite sides of the world may build different machines, but if they understand the same laws, their solutions will look familiar. Caral's planners understood climate cycles, social stability, nonviolent coordination, long-term sustainability. Those ideas did not belong to one culture. They belonged to a mindset, a coastal civilizations and knowledge flow. Caral thrived near the coast. So did many other early advanced sites. Why? Because coastlines are crossroads. Fish provide protein. Rivers connect inland trade. The ocean allows movement. Coastal civilizations exchange ideas more easily than isolated inland ones. Not through conquest, through contact. Knowledge does not need empires to spread. It only needs curiosity. A network without maps. Imagine a world before borders, before nations, before armies. Small groups traveling coastlines, trading food, trading tools, trading stories, and sometimes trading ideas. Ideas about how to build, how to organize, how to survive without destroying. Caral may have been one of the earliest hubs in that invisible network. Why this is hard to accept. Modern history likes clean timelines. One birthplace of civilization, one linear progression. Caral disrupts that because it suggests civilization did not begin once, but many times, and sometimes peacefully. That idea is dangerous to older theories because it removes the need for violence as a catalyst.